Mamela, Sibali, Mamela. The taking of land is just not going to happen. It's a lot of hot air. And the reason it's a lot of hot air is because the ANC itself knows very well that it is unfeasible, if not impossible, to take that land. These are some of the lessons that were taught to EFF when they went to London, where they were told very clearly that there will be no appropriation or expropriation of land. And the reason that is because Abelu Mulaba planned this thing a whole long time ago. Number one, the ANC does not have enough money to buy that land, because a lot of the land that is available in South Africa belongs to multinational organizations and trusts who are not going to sell it for a cheap price. Number two is the fact that a lot of the land that you see already has already been earmarked for projects that have already been financed, projects that are financed 5 years ahead of time. And number three, even if the ANC decided to be radical and to expropriate that land by force and then decide to compensate or not compensate, it's going to be impossible, because a lot of that land no longer belongs to the Boers who stole it in the first place. A lot of the land now belongs to multilateral lending institutions. Institutions like the World Bank, international, European and American banks that have financed projects and given money for projects and developments on those pieces of land. In South Africa, the most valuable land is the land set aside for property development. It is so valuable, some are rating it at about $1.5 trillion. And then farming land is just one of those things, by the way, but it is also valuable. And on both these pieces of land, multilateral lending institutions are lending money for developments, investment on those pieces of land. So you will see that the World Bank owns a lot of land in South Africa. And a lot of people wouldn't understand how is that possible? The World Bank has got a division that lends to private business entities. It's called IFC. So a lot of land in South Africa has got money that's coming from IFC and a lot of the other Western banks that have financed projects that are taking place, property development, even farming. A lot of farming projects are being financed by international institutions. So those pieces of land no longer belong to the Boers. They now belong to these international institutions that come from the superpowers of the world. This was done deliberately because they knew that this time was coming. They learned from Zimbabwe. And some of the trusts, of course, have been holding some of these pieces of land and properties even in Joburg and everywhere for hundreds of years. So it's going to be difficult to take that land. And to expropriate that land is to go to war with the Security Council, basically. And the reason why this was done is when they knew that there were resources in that land, they knew that they were not going to let that land go. Another thing is we can talk about the land all we want. We're beginning to realize it's not going to be possible to take it. But another discussion that's not happening is, even if you were to take the land, what seeds are you going to put in that land? Considering that most of the seeds in South Africa, more than 90% of the staple seeds in this country belong to Western corporations. They're genetically modified seeds that come from Western companies. So what are you going to put in that land? And South Africa is a signatory to the WTO, which is now making rules and laws pertaining to seeds, so that in future those people that are holding on to heirloom seeds or organic seeds are not going to be able to exchange them or trade them, because what will be allowed to be sold only is patented seeds. So that's another conversation that we're not having, to say what happens with the food or the seeds that is going to go into that land. So the discussion of land, I think people are just being hoodwinked. The truth is not being said. But I'll promise you that Julius Malema, together with senior members in the ANC, know very well that expropriation of land is not going to be possible, because this land is owned by big guns. And that is why you see these Afrikaners get very cocky and tell you that if you take land without compensation. There will be a civil war. They're saying that because you're not going to fight with them. You're going to fight with the big eagles that are behind them. No! You're not going to fight some boas. I don't know. No. It's gonna be a serious issue, this one.